Welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number 44 of Let's Go Racing with David Starr. Tyler Jones here with you. So glad to have you with us. We have a brand new champion in the NASCAR Cup Series. He goes by the name Kyle Larson. We will look back on Kyle Larson's championship run. Also, touch on David's doubleheader weekend as he was a part of the Xfinity and Cup Series finales. We'll break that all down coming up in just a little while from right now. But before we do, let's go ahead and tell you about our friends at Whataburger. This show is always presented by Whataburger. Don't forget that every Whataburger is made fresh, served hot, and prepared just like you like it. Want jalapenos and cheese on that? No problem. They've got you covered. Whataburger, proud to serve it hot and fresh 24 hours a day. David Starr joins us right now. David, you put a lot of miles on this weekend, back-to-back races, and you had a front row seat for Kyle Larson taking home the championship, as well as Daniel Hemric getting it done on the Xfinity side. Tell us about your weekend, man.
Man, what a weekend. Dominic was there, so he can echo everything I'm saying, man. What a great weekend. Man, there was so much excitement in the air. I mean, unbelievable, the energy that was there at Phoenix International Raceway. I mean, starting Friday night with that NASCAR Camp World Series truck race, man, that was amazing. You know what I mean? And I was cheering for my buddy Matt Crafton, and he wasn't able to get it done. And I really, John Hummer, we thought John Hunter was going to win the championship driving for Kyle Busch, but man, it just, that was exciting. Came down to the last, 4 or 5 laps to go. But, man, the whole weekend was incredible. I mean, the truck race was awesome. The NASCAR Xfinity Series, I mean, golly, when I saw the finish, I'm like, wow, it couldn't have been scripted any better, And then, man, seeing what took place Sunday evening there in Phoenix, Kyle Larson being our NASCAR 2021 champion. Incredible, man. At one point, when those guys were lapping me, you had, I remember it was Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Truex, and Chase Elliott. Those guys were in the top 4. I mean, they were first, second, third, and fourth. I mean, and it was just amazing. The amount of people, how exciting all 3 series to crown a champion, that all 3 races did not disappoint anyone, whether you were there watching on television. It was unbelievable, man. What an awesome championship NASCAR weekend.
Dominic Argano of the RacingExperts.com is here with us as well. Dominic, you were there. This was one of the best, if not the best, championship weekends I can think of.
I got to agree with you there, Tyler. I've covered 5 of these in person, the last 4, all for the RacingExperts.com. And I have to say, this weekend, just the energy, right? I mean, David, you've raced a long time. You know how exciting it was to go to Homestead Miami Speedway and cap off the season there. I felt like this weekend kind of had that same energy, like going to Homestead, going that last race there, just the energy, the fans back. Because last year we didn't have that. We had 8,000 fans at the Cup Series race, over 50,000 for Sunday's race, sold out. It was really nice to see that. And just capping everything off with 3 first-time champions in each of the respective 3 series, and even the K&N West battle coming down to how that did with a tiebreaker. David, just a lot of good racing this week, and it was one for the history books.
No doubt about it. Only thing we were missing, Dominic, was our buddy Tyler wasn't with us. You know what I mean? That was the only thing. I mean, what the racing was great. People, fans everywhere. And I was looking around the corner. I went in the bathroom one time. I was in the media center, and I couldn't find Tyler. Did you know where he was at on there? Did you see him anywhere?
Yeah, I looked around the media center, just couldn't find him. There's a guy that covered 2 of the playoff races. You'd think he'd surely be at the Phoenix race, but we'll be there next year, huh, Tyler?
Oh, yeah, man. I wish I would have been there, but somebody had to host the post-race show, on Local News Live. We did post-race coverage, and that was a lot of fun to bring that to the folks of, hearing from Kyle Larson directly and such. But nonetheless, David, let's start with you, and then we'll dive into how the championship played out. You were involved in the Xfinity and the Cup race, and the Cup race in particular, You brought out the last caution with a little mechanical failure, and about half of NASCAR fans love you right now. About half hate you right now, based on what I've seen on Twitter with how things have played out of you having kind of a main character role of sorts in the way that Cup race finished. Tell me about what exactly went down, and do you have any message for the Kyle Larson fans that are happy with you, or maybe the Truex and Hamlin fans that are a little not so happy with you right now?
And the truth of the matter is, when the race started, ourself, my teammate Timmy Hill, our MBM Motorsports team. I mean, we're running our own little race back there, racing with the cars we race with, and man, I can assure you that we've had plenty of conversations when the leaders were coming. When your spotter was telling you the leaders are coming 20 car back, he tells you, hey, they're 20 cars back. Man, we didn't want to get we didn't want to be in the way of the leaders, change the race up, do anything. We were on top of that. I mean, we always are. You don't want to get in anybody's way. Definitely don't want to get in the championship contenders' way. And that was an important thing for our team, myself, our sponsors, everybody involved, And we were having a great race ourselves, man. Our car was pretty good. I think at the time when our left front brake rotor exploded, I think we were 27th place, so we were racing hard, trying to get in the top 25 without getting in anybody's way, changing up we were just racing hard ourselves, but being very understanding what was happening on the racetrack. And, when my rotor exploded, with about 25 laps to go, man, I was so disappointed. We were fortunate enough that we didn't hit the wall because it happened going into turn 3. I mean, that's a turn where you use a lot of brakes. And, man, I was just on the brake pedal hard. And, man, next thing you know, the rotor exploded. It was loud. There was a big vibration. I saw it come apart. I felt it come apart. And luckily, we did not hit the wall, or we did not hit any other competitor. I don't know if the rotor coming apart, breaking up, affected anybody else on the racetrack. I don't think it did. If it did, I had not heard. But man, we were going for a really good finish, and my team, myself, any of us, if we could go back and to hope that wouldn't happen, I promise you, man, that was we would love to have finished the race because we were having such a great race. And man, it's disappointing that our left front rotor came apart, so very sad. And but it's just the way the race plays out. People's motors blow up. People wreck. Or we had a mechanical failure with our left front rotor, and it just happens. But on purpose or with any bad intentions, absolutely not. It's just one of those racing things.
Sure. And when something like that happens, Dave, especially like with what happened to you on Sunday, how much notice did you have before that incident did happen?
Man, I didn't have any notice. I had good brakes. My brakes were working great. Obviously, we were racing hard, and there at Phoenix, you really apply a lot of brake pressure, use a lot of brakes. You're going in the corner extremely, taking some speed into the corner, and you're on the brakes like everybody is. And, I really didn't have indication that was going to happen. You know what I mean? I mean, because usually when you have a brake failure, when you have a brake rotor explode like ours explodes, you're going to lose a car. You know what I mean? Because, man, especially at these high speed racetracks where there is a lot of braking going on. And again, man, when that thing exploded and it came apart, how we did not hit the wall or hit another competitor is unbelievable, really. I mean, we got lucky there, and, to be the guy or the team to bring out a caution. I mean, we had no control of that. We would never, I mean, again, we talked about it, Carl Long, our spotter, my team, we had discussions about, hey, when the leaders are coming, you wanted to make sure we gave them plenty of room, and I can assure you that brake problem happening was just a mechanical failure that's out completely 110% out of our control,
Well, and David, I would add too, I'd be curious what your perspective is on this. Some folks are, especially if you're a fan of Truex or Hamlin, are going to say that affected the outcome. I'm of the belief that, if that caution doesn't happen, there probably would have been just another caution of some sorts. In the race, guys would have gotten antsy, a wreck or something, or maybe someone else has a mechanical failure. I mean, you just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I would bet if that doesn't happen, someone else probably brings out another caution or maybe a debris caution. It's just hard to say that was what made, controlled the outcome.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd say you was in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was a mechanical failure.
Right.
I didn't hit anything.
Right.
And I was, I got down when they cleared me, I got down on the apron. So we didn't really affect, the race could have continued. But, when unfortunately, and for most people that know, when you have a brake rotor explode, I mean, it disintegrates, and man, this, it's a 1.5 to 2 inch piece of metal out there, that's spread all over the racetrack or on the back straightaway where it happened. It was just a safety issue, and I think NASCAR probably saw some parts and pieces of the rotor around the racetrack, and they didn't have no choice but to throw a caution to clean up the debris that caused from our rotor exploding, But, it's just, most race fans and people know, I mean, we got no control over, our engine could have blown up, brake rotor exploding. I mean, that's just something we have no control of that. I just, when it happened, I was so disappointed and so frustrated because I was having a good race. And, and to end the season on the, we're not a full-time Cup team. And, we obviously we don't run Cup every week. And so we just over there doing the best we could, racing as hard as we could, not getting in anybody's way. And we really thought we were going to come out of there with the top 25 finish. Unfortunately, that mechanical failure brought out a caution with 25 laps to go, but that's just racing, man. That's just a racing thing. And, if I could, magically do something, hell, I would have flipped a switch and hopefully that would have never happened, but that hurt us as well. But, I hope people understand that, man, we had no control over that happening
Right.
during the race to bring out a caution,
Yeah, exactly. And Dominic, David got a little award of some sort. So what do you want to call it? You were there. Tell us about it after the Xfinity race.
Sure. So Brock Beard, who runs LASTCAR.info. Brock Beard's a NASCAR historian and NASCAR YouTuber who has a very big following and a big presence on the internet. And he tracks the last place finishers from every one of the top 3 national touring series. Now, Brock and his website go all the way back to 1949, and they archive, who finished last in the first race of 1940 and so forth, right, all the way through 2021. And it just so happened that David had 3 last place finishes in the year 2021 in the Xfinity Series, and that was the most among the Xfinity Series competition. So if you're watching the YouTube version right now, you're watching the overlay of the award that Brock had given to Dave on finishing as the LASTCAR champion, as he calls it. He signed it and presented David with the award in the Xfinity Series garage after his 21st place finish in the Phoenix garage on Saturday.
David, I mean, you had, these same thing like we talked about, mechanical failures. You didn't, crash out and find yourself in these last place situations. But I got to say, you were a good sport about it. You had a nice laugh when this happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's just some things you can't control, and man, I'm a winner, man. And I can assure you, I got to hide sometimes when we at the racetrack because we do have mechanical failures and we've had our fair share this year with MBM Motorsports and man, losing some motors and having motor issues, man, it's the worst thing ever. I mean, I go to a racetrack and, we know the amount of funding we have in our team. We're not a powerhouse team that's going to win races week in and week out. Obviously when Daytona and Talladega are here, we feel like that we have a shot then. But, unfortunately, those things have happened to us this year. And, for somebody to walk up to you and hand you an award for finishing last most out of everybody, man, that's a tough. You smile, you say thank you, take a picture, but inside, man, you're so freaking mad you can't stand it. You know what I mean? But anyway, you just got to find the humor in it. You know what I mean? It's out of my control. If they walked up and gave you an award for, you wrecked all these races and you finished last, well, I could kind of, accept that, you know what I mean? But as a driver, man, I want to win. I want to run good. And when you have mechanical failures, man, it just, it eats at me, man. It's tough to swallow. And I'm smiling a lot. I'm a happy guy, but man, it's tough, dude. It's tough when you have mechanical problems and it knocks you out of a race. Man, it's just hard to be happy. You know what I mean? So sometimes I got to go hide at the racetrack because I don't want people to see that frustration in me. You know what I mean? I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm madder than hell for a couple of hours, but you learn to get over it. And but man, I would have never thought I was going to get an award for anything. And when that guy walked up, that was nice of him. He was very respectful. I was respectful to him. Dominic was around, took a picture of it. You know what I mean? But that won't be an award that I will hang proudly on my in my trophy room. I can assure you of that.
I want a copy of it, and I'll put it in my studio back here, my home office, So
hey, Tyler,
might have to get that from you.
Me and Dominic love you a lot, dude. Let's keep it that way.
Well, thank you. The feeling is mutual. David, let's move on to more positive notes. Kyle Larson, you have been, I think, as big a fan of Kyle Larson as there is of anybody I know, David. I think the way, in hearing the way you've talked about him and, from everyone after that's responded to his championship, his competitors he was competing for the title with Denny, Chase, Martin, guys like Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch, whatever, Tony Stewart saying that, he's the most talented race car driver he's ever seen. And AJ Foyt, Mario Andretti with big praise for him and such too. The thing that I get from Kyle Larson, David, is he's a racer's racer. We hear the term a man's man. I think Kyle Larson's a racer's racer. I'm so amazed with the respect that he has around the garage and the way that it's just celebrated this championship. It feels like everybody won seeing Kyle Larson take home this title. And yes, he drove the car and he got the job done, but his team deserves a whole lot of credit for winning that race off pit road, getting their second fastest pit stop of the entire year on that last pit stop. What a finish, not only for Kyle, but a true team win there.
Yeah, I really think, you just hearing you speak and all the superstars and legends that you just mentioned, when you see talent, raw talent, it's right there in front of us, man. And we're watching something special, you know what I mean? And you don't see that a lot, you see it week in and week out. And I really think that Kyle Larson has done a lot for our sport of NASCAR racing. I think he's done a lot for auto racing in America and the world. And when I say that, I grew up racing dirt cars. I'm a Saturday night late model dirt racer. And you find a lot of passion at local dirt tracks across this country. Not local dirt tracks, local asphalt race tracks, the grassroots of our sport, And when Kyle Larson is not racing his cup car, you'll find him at a local dirt track somewhere jumping in a midget, jumping in a late model wedge car, jumping in a sprint car. And people can identify with that, you know what I mean? And I have a lot of friends that are dirt racers. And man, they're passionate. They're so passionate about dirt racing. They don't even focus on NASCAR. And what Kyle Larson has done for all the dirt racers across the country, he's a racer, man. Like you said, he's a racer. And most of these people that run these asphalt late model cars and street stocks and dirt cars and sprint cars and midget, I mean, everybody can identify with Kyle Larson because they're racers. They're true hardcore racers. And that's what you have in Kyle Larson. To hear you explain it, that's spot on, you know? And I really think, and I know because I have a lot of friends that really didn't pay much attention to NASCAR racing, but I can assure you when Hemric Motorsports announced that Kyle Larson was going to drive the number 5 car in the Cup Series for Hemric Motorsports in 2021, we had a whole lot of new eyeballs from racers around the country pay attention to NASCAR racing again. And it was only because Kyle Larson, they can identify with him because he is a dirt racer. He's a sprint car racer. He's a dirt late model racer. He's a midget racer. I mean, you got all these people across the country that do all that. And he's brought a lot of new eyes back to our sport, back to NASCAR. And you hit it right on the head, man. He's a racer's racer. And, man, y'all see him. Dominic sees him. You see him, Tyler. I see him. What they've done this year, winning 10 races and winning the championship. And I'll echo Tony Stewart. We're watching greatness, man. Greatness. I don't know what Mario said about him or AJ Foyt said about him, but when you got guys like Mario Andretti and AJ Foyt, 2 of the greatest race car drivers ever, you know, that says a lot. And Tony Stewart, you put him right there up there with them. Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson. This kid is something special. And look, we're not surprised by him winning the championship. No, us guys aren't. We've talked about it. But I think this is one of many, many, many more to come. You know, he might be the next Jimmy Johnson to win 7, tie Richard Petty's record, Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s record. He might be the person to actually set their own record of having more than 7 championships. But, man, this guy is one of the all-time best.
Well, Dominic, what about the marriage between Kyle Larson and Hemric Motorsports here? I remember we asked David back in February, before the season began, asked him, you know, how long is this going to take for Kyle Larson to adapt of being away from a Cup car for half a season and then also going to a new team, new crew chief. And David, you said right away, it's not going to take him long at all. He's going to even be better than what he was previously at Ganassi. And you were spot on, exactly right about that. And to see that Cliff Daniels, who was a very young crew chief in his own right, to go to Hemric and be with a team that didn't know their sponsorship situation either. They were, you know, riding with the HemricCars.com out of their own money and such. The way that all this came together so fast, credit to Kyle Larson, but credit to Hemric Motorsports. This marriage was amazing how well it came together in such a quick and dominating fashion. One of the most dominating championship seasons we've ever seen.
It happened so fast. I remember talking with Jeff Bodine for a radio interview last year and talking about, okay, he's signed with Hemric Motorsports. How's it going to be, Jeff? And Jeff told me, he goes, you mark my words, he's going to win out of the gate. He's going to be a championship contender. And boy, was he right. And I think all 3 of us, we can all check the records back to the February shows. I think we all had Kyle Larson in our picks to make the playoffs and to win races. I said he'd win 1 or 2 races. I think he'd win 10. I mean, that's so impressive too. In the modern era where you have 36 races, you have a guy that goes out and wins 10 events. It's the first time a driver has won double-digit races in a season since Jimmy Johnson in 2007. And before that was Jeff Gordon in 1998 with 13 wins. Double-digit win seasons do not happen often in the NASCAR Cup Series, let alone with a first-year team like how Kyle Larson did with the 5 team. 25 years ago was the last time the 5 car won a championship with Terry Labonte at the helm of Hemric Motorsports. And I heard a reporter say it, and it boggled my mind to hear when they were talking with Rick Hendrick in the media center on Sunday night after the championship. Hemric Motorsports has won 14 NASCAR Cup Series championships. That is just insane. When you hear that number, 14 championships. There are drivers that don't even run 14 seasons in the NASCAR Cup Series, let alone 14 titles across Hemric Motorsports tenure. We are seeing an amazing run, and I think when NASCAR and we look back on the history books and what's written about this era about motorsports, it's the beginning of the Kyle Larson show and the Kyle Larson dominance of the 2020s.
And to add to that, before we go back to David here, look at what Hemric is assembling right now. They have the greatest crew chief of all time as their competition director in Chad Knaus. Jeff Gordon, one of the greatest drivers of all time and one of the smartest minds around the sport, is their vice chancellor. To go with the greatest owner in the history of this sport, Rick Hemric, and that young driver lineup that has 2 champions and 2 guys that have already won and made the playoffs in Bowman and William Byron. David, it's a special time for Hemric Motorsports right now, and you could make a case they're really just getting back to form from what they were a few years ago. This didn't happen overnight. Hemric was on a bit of a downward spiral before Chase got that title last year.
Man, you guys, I know y'all haven't been doing this that long, but ever since 24 years ago when I came into NASCAR, and I've been watching Hemric Motorsports, you knew that was a powerhouse team, with Rick Hendricks and his businesses and his automotive group and all the major sponsors they've had over the years, and the talented people, crew chiefs, engineers, engine builders, Randy Dorton, all the people. I mean, man, it's a nucleus, man. It's a powerhouse. And ever since I've been involved in NASCAR racing, Hendricks has always been the powerhouse, and like you said, there's been some years where it circulates and Hendrick hadn't come out on top. But man, I don't know what the percentages is, but I'd love to have them and I love to be a part of it because, man, they were always right there, and you got drivers like Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Terry Labonte, Jeff Bodine. I mean, just on and on and on, man. It's just, man, you take a race car driver, the best race car driver in the world at present time, and see what he does at the Chili Bowl, and see what he does in these midget cars and these sprint cars, no matter what part of the country he's in. I mean, to watch him drive those cars is amazing. It's like a piece of art, how he finesses and he just dominates these dirt races. And man, you put him in a Hemric Motorsports race car with all the technology, engineering, the best of the best. And like y'all were talking earlier, that's a recipe for championship. And man, I just think we're just seeing the start of something that's going to be amazing years to come, and unbelievable.
Yeah, it's hard to put into words, really. And getting that 10th win, also winning the All-Star race, breaking the record for most laps led in a time where they're running shorter races than they've ever had before. Kyle Larson getting this championship done. As much as we talk about Kyle, what Cliff Daniels did and that team, that 5 team put together, David, tell me about that. Of Cliff Daniels, this guy is a rising star in this sport. I love what he's done in a short amount of time, really, running that team. You don't see that from second-year crew chiefs like that.
Man, not at all, and Cliff Daniels, man, wow. I mean, to give Kyle Larson the type of car that he gives Kyle Larson week in and week out, I mean, you still got to drive that race car. People say, well, Hendrick has all the money in the world and they have all the resources and all the technology and they have the best engines and, and they have this and they have that, yada, 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 on and on and on. But man, somebody's still got to drive the wheels off that race car. And somebody's got to take that race car and set it up and make sure that baby will turn in the center. It's got good forward bite and enters the corner good. And man, that crew chief, man, he unbelievable to step into what he stepped into and to be a superstar so quick. I mean, it's amazing. I think it's 2 years, the second year, right, Tyler?
Yeah, he came in about halfway through the year for Jimmy Johnson last year, and the 48 team immediately improved. Probably would have made the playoff had Jimmy Johnson not gotten COVID.
Yeah, and so unbelievable, but I'm not surprised. You look at the history at Hemric Motorsports, Chad Knaus, Ray Evernham. You just look at the crew chiefs that have come there and have this spectacular career, and I mean, no difference from what we're seeing here, so yeah, amazing. I just think the people involved, the engineers, that team, everybody that makes up that team is an asset to that organization, man. And that marriage with all the different people, what they have going on. I think Rick Hendricks has done just a tremendous job. Chad Canals, bringing in those people, that core of people to come together. I mean, unbelievable, man. If I was Rick I'd be trying to keep those guys together for years to come, man, because it's very powerful.
I think no matter what happens.
Dominic,
go ahead, Tom. Go ahead.
Okay, what I was going to say to Dominic here, when we look at Kyle Larson winning this championship, what amazes me about this season, we threw all the numbers out there with how dominating he was, but this wasn't a boring season. This still came down to the very end. Martin Truex had a chance to pass Kyle Larson and take the title away from him. This wasn't a season that it felt like that the championship was over before it started. It still comes down to the very end. We have, more road courses than ever before. The Bristol Dirt Race, all these different elements. It amazes me, Dominic, that this season was so exciting, yet it was still clear that there was one dominant driver this year. It amazes me how well that it seems that, yes, you had Kyle Larson in that way, but it was still competitive all year round, beginning with that Daytona 500 with Michael McDowell.
So much parity to begin the year. We would talk on this podcast weekly. Hey, are we going to have 17 winners this year? Because Michael McDowell, Christopher Bell, all these drivers just started rattling off wins. And there wasn't that clear-cut dominant guy in the beginning. But Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin shaping up the regular season battle that was, and then the run through the playoffs, the 5 wins that we saw from Kyle Larson in the championship run, just in the playoffs itself. You're right, Tyler. I mean, Fox deemed this as the greatest season ever, right? That's how they were promoting this. David, did it live up to the greatest season ever?
Man, if it wasn't, it wasn't far away from the greatest season ever. Obviously, there's been a lot of seasons way before all of our time. You know what I mean? But man, it kept us guys, all of us, on the edge of our seats, and man, there was not a shortage of things to talk about on our podcast. I mean, it was just the energy at these racetracks across America, week in and week out, was amazing. The competition was amazing, and like, I'm just listening to y'all talk, and it's such a team sport. When they had that last caution Sunday, and somebody said that Kyle Larson was not leading the race, and when the caution came out, they came to it was a team effort that put him back up near the front. I think he came off pit road first. So but I would say, if this wasn't the greatest season ever, it's got to be in the top 3, because amazing, and all the stories and everything. And let's not forget, we'll talk about the Xfinity series and the Truck series here in a minute, but man, just all 3 series. I don't think, Martin Truex Jr. was as dominant as we've seen him as years past. But man, this guy had a shot at winning the championship in 2021. He was very strong at Phoenix, and even after Kyle Larson beat him off pit road, and they started the race, it looked like Truex had something for him. And right there at the end, coming to the last lap, the last corner, Truex was right there. So man, it was exciting, man. NASCAR couldn't have scripted this any better.
Yeah, let's touch on that truck and Xfinity championships real quick. Dominic, Daniel Hemric gets the Xfinity title in his first career win, side-by-side finish with Austin Cindric. Ben Rhodes won 2 races this year. He finds himself winning the truck title. Kind of recap it for us, and we'll get David's reaction here. Both of those pretty exciting down to the wire.
Very exciting races. Friday night with the Truck Series race. Ben Rhodes, Zane Smith coming down with about 8 laps to go. Zane Smith not in the leader's position, second place, I believe. Ben Rhodes kind of moved him out of the way, but even Zane Smith said after, not sure if I just tightened up, and that just happened to play out the way it did. But Ben Rhodes did get around him. Like you said, he won the opening 2 races this year. Looked like he was going to go on a tear and just had a consistent run through the regular season and the playoffs. Ben Rhodes got his first championship in the Truck Series. And then in the Xfinity Series, Daniel Hemric, Austin Cindric coming down there to the wire on an overtime restart. I mean, David, kind of looking from that perspective, I mean, I would have thought, just watching that on the Jumbotron outside last couple laps, I'm watching this thing unfold, and they go off out of turn 2, and I'm thinking Hemric's going to move him out of the way in turn 3. And that was just as clean of a battle as you could have seen. And they're beating fenders coming out of turn 4, and it's a photo finish. Couldn't have scripted that any better.
Man, no doubt about it. Just listening to you talking about Ben Rhodes. I mean, watching the final 20 laps of that truck race, Ben Rhodes, man, he had a strong truck, and he had a pretty good, he had to make up some time. I think Zane Smith was, to me, at one point I said, man, Zane Smith's going to win the championship in the Truck Series, but man, you look back and see that 99 truck, it was coming. Man, it was coming. And man, when he got to Zane Smith, they traded a little paint, but man, I don't think Zane Smith was going to be able to hold off Ben Rhodes. But it was unbelievable. It was exciting, and it did not disappoint everybody that was in the audience and all the people watching on TV. And then you talk about the Xfinity Series. Daniel Hemric, he didn't win a race all year long, but he was a strong competitor all year, obviously, to put himself in the chase and to be there in the Final Four and on championship weekend here at Phoenix. And I don't even know if he led a lap on Saturday, but man, he led the most important lap. And I watched it after the fact. I watched the race after the race was over with, watched the last 2 laps. And man, Cindric looked like he was going to win the championship, win the race. And man, Daniel Hemric drove that thing down into turn 3. I mean, he overdrove the corner, and that baby stuck, and he turned and got back to the gas. And man, they went to beating and banging on each other, which is fair game. Nobody's spun anybody out. And man, he just barely notched him at the start-finish line. I mean, that was unbelievable. That was unbelievable. I would have never thought that race would have ended that way. And I mean, for Daniel Hemric to win his first race ever in NASCAR and then win the championship, man, it was a perfect night for them. But unbelievable. He only led 1 lap. That's the most important one. It was exciting,
David,
man.
Pre-race, you and I, we were doing some stand-ups and just kind of doing some media together, and we were going around the room picking our picks. You said Daniel Hemric was going to win the championship. By golly, you were right.
Well, I mean, I don't, I just thought he was so good for so long. You know what I mean? It's like, man, I don't know. I just thought, man, they've been super fast, a lot of speed in the car, and then top 5 every weekend and week out. You just thought, man, today's going to be his day, and it ended up being his day. So congratulations to them, man. I was just that race and the championship for the NASCAR Xfinity side. Oh my God, man, that was amazing. Amazing.
Now I got a question for you, David. When you see Hemric break through and get that win, the saying goes that the first win is the toughest one. Do you think this is going to be a breakthrough for Daniel Hemric? I know he's moving to a new team with Colleague Racing, and Colleague had their best year yet. Do you think he's going to now all of a sudden start winning more races in 2022?
Hey, Tyler, what's that magical word?
What is the yes?
Now, yeah, that's part of it, but it's momentum. I mean, this guy's on fire to win us the last race of the year, win the championship, all the confidence in the world. I mean, this guy's riding, he's on every cloud up there. He's man, confidence, momentum, and to put him in a colleague bar next season, man, I think what you just talked about, I think we're going to see Daniel Hemric win a lot more races now, man. I just think the momentum he has, the confidence he has, and his ability, and the racing team that he's going to, man, that's a recipe for freaking a lot more wins to come, no doubt.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. Before we get to our news and notes segment, just a reminder that the folks at Whataburger cook up 100% pure beef burgers 24 hours a day. You can get your burger fix anytime, day or night at Whataburger. Proud to serve it hot and fresh 24 hours a day. What a burger. Dominic, there's a few things going on in the NASCAR world, and let's go ahead and find out what they are.
Quite a bit going on in the NASCAR world. We always take a look at our top headlines here across the sport and all across all forms of motorsports. On Tuesday, November 9th, NASCAR announced the format for the LA Coliseum Busch Clash race. That's going to include so many drivers eligible in heat races, and ultimately 24 drivers are going to make the field in that race in February. But that race will kick off the 2022 NASCAR Cup Series season. Guys, that's just a little over 85 days away. So NASCAR season just around the corner.
Yeah, isn't that crazy to think about? We're just 85 days away from it. We're going to see heat races, then they're going to narrow down the field. And David, you know, traditionally this has been a race that's been a reward for the pole winners, but we didn't have qualifying for most of last year, so everybody's going to be eligible. The only guy locked into the main event is Kyle Larson.
Well, rightfully so, but man, I can't wait to watch that race on TV, man. That's going to be exciting. I mean, I think that track's smaller than freaking Martinsville, you know. And
David, you're eligible. You need to run this thing, David.
You never know. I might be there trying to make that Saturday night feature, you know what I mean, in that Coliseum, you know. But I don't know. I think NASCAR's done a good job. That's such a great market. I think it's the week before the Super Bowl, and man, there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on that race, and I'm excited for our sport, you know, because going to the LA Coliseum for the first time ever, racing in the LA Coliseum. I mean, with all our superstars and stars of our sport, it's going to be exciting, man. I'm excited about that race. I'm excited about 2022. Our sport has a lot of momentum. And I'm looking forward to watching that race on television and maybe even trying to make the race, you know what I mean? But, man, the format they come out with, it's going to put the fans on the edge of their seats if you're in that Coliseum that day.
Yeah, Dominic, you excited about this? I love that we finally get something real and authentic in the bye week of the Super Bowl. I don't care about the dang Pro Bowl. Now we got a great race in the same city as the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. And the historic events that have taken place there at the LA Coliseum, and NASCAR is going to get to etch their name in that storied book. I look forward to it. I'm always for new events, new things, and trying new things. This is something NASCAR is trying out of the box. I look forward to it. And speaking of some other headlines kind of going on around the sport this weekend, about racetracks, Speedway Motorsports Incorporated has announced that they are acquiring Dover Motorsports. They are the company that holds Dover International Speedway, the Dover Downs, the Nashville Super Speedway, and Speedway Motorsports owns tracks like Las Vegas, Sonoma, Texas, Bristol, Kentucky, and so forth. They are acquiring the deal for over $131 million, and that was announced on Monday, November 8th.
Now, explain to me this, Dominic. I'm sure a lot of people at home are intrigued about one particular thing in this is that Dover Motorsports is a publicly traded company. It's not a private company like SMI. So what does this mean for people that own stock in Dover Motorsports now?
I've done a little bit of looking into that as well. So the way I understand, right, Speedway Motorsports will be paying out $3.61 a share to the people who are shareholders with Dover Motorsports, which, okay, on the surface, that does not sound like a lot of money. But with Dover Motorsports trading for about $2 a share to about $2.50 a share in the last calendar year, more or less. And I'm ballparking the numbers. You're going to get a really nice payday here. And I did some looking too. So if people were shareholders or they have owned share in Dover Motorsports, when do you get this payout? When are your shares going to get paid out to you? Nothing is really set in stone at the time of this podcast coming out, at least from the information I could siphon through. So
I believe as of today, you can still buy stock in Dover Motorsports.
Correct. As of the week of November 8th, you could still buy stock. But again, there's no finalized date on when this is going to actually happen. But I did see that the stock was trading for about $3.60. Again, the price at what Speedway Motorsports said they were going to pay per share for the Dover Motorsports stock.
I love that we can talk stocks on the show. David, the big picture here, SMI taking over these tracks provides more flexibility when it comes to that NASCAR schedule in the future here. If you're a fan of Dover or Nashville Superspeedway, though, might be a little nervous right now, I would think.
What's the stock symbol?
DDD, David. DDD.
There we go. Hey, man, you're talking about three great racetracks, and the Bruton Smith family, Marcus Smith, and all the people that work at their racetracks across the country. Man, I just see nothing but making them bigger and better. You know what I mean? They're already awesome. And but if you look at these SMI tracks across the country, they're pretty over the top, pretty spectacular, something special. And those three tracks that they're acquiring, I just think there's big things in the horizon for those three racetracks. But all three of them are great racetracks. I love racing at every one of them.
The thing to me, Dom, that I find interesting is that if NASCAR was going to race at the fairgrounds, it was hard to imagine them racing at Nashville Superspeedway as well. I would think that something's got to give between those two if the fairgrounds are ever going to come into the fold, right?
Potentially, I think so. And my mind kind of went to, maybe you guys thought about this too, is when SMI had acquired Rockingham, and Rockingham ultimately got shafted off the schedule in 2004. Could that happen with Dover? Could that happen with Nashville? Could something else happen? Who knows? But I think those are the questions that I was having. And maybe on the more smaller end of it too, are these tracks going to be rebranded with the Motor Speedway thing? Like how New Hampshire International Speedway became New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Is it going to be Dover Motor Speedway, Nashville Motor? Again, the small details, but those were where my mind was going earlier this week when this news was announced.
Yeah, especially considering Nashville isn't technically a super speedway by definition either. I don't think anyone would mind that having a little rebrand of sorts. Anything else we need to cover, Dom?
Yeah, our last headline here. So Judgment Day, I guess, kind of been pushed back, but the sentencing for Jeff Karpoff, you may remember, is the DC Solar CEO and owner of the company, got sentenced earlier this week, I should say, November 9th, in a Eastern California courtroom. Jeff Karpoff and DC Solar, prosecutors say the scam may be the largest in the history of the United States Attorney's Office in Sacramento. Over 150 exotic sport cars and antique vehicles were auctioned off the FBI, and the judge came down and said, you were selling air. And to kind of just go back and recall DC Solar was a part of the sport in the late 2010s. And this company was involved with Chip Ganassi Racing and the Xfinity Series. You may recall it, Ross Chastain was slated to go full-time with this team in 2019, and the sponsorship evaporated overnight. And David, I want to get your take on this, right? Because we always hear about sponsors coming and going in the sport. But when you have a big sponsor like this, fronting a lot of money, I mean, we know how important sponsorship is in this sport, but how big is this when a company like this overnight leaves the sport? How many people does this affect, and what kind of ripple effect does this send through the sport?
I mean, I'm just listening. This is the first I'm hearing about all this. Obviously, we talked about it years ago when DC Cellular, what was the name? DC Solar. DC Solar. Yeah. I mean, they had a big presence in NASCAR. When they came in, man, it was amazing. I'm like, man, that company must be doing really, really, really good, because they were just involved in sponsoring racetracks, sponsoring cars, Cup Series cars, Xfinity cars. But, just sad, when the news broke that it was some type of scam. I felt bad with Ross Chastain. I felt like that the rug was yanked out from underneath him, a driver that's well deserved what was coming to him, and it came to a screeching halt at the time. But man, it's sad. It's sad to see this types of corruption happens. I mean, it happens a lot. You don't see it in our sport, but it has happened. This is not the first company that's come into our sport with a splash or a bang, and then you hear later on it was some type of scam where they were scamming people or whatever. But it has a ripple effect. It affects people's lives, livelihoods. These racing teams that that count on, our whole industry is ran on sponsorship, and these racing teams and the employees, and everybody's got families and kids and bills to pay, and man, it had a big ripple effect at the time in our sport. And I remember some of my friends losing their jobs at Chip Ganassi Racing, and it's just but man, it's just a horrible thing to happen. And man, you see this stuff, and it's very intriguing. You have a lot of questions about it. You don't understand it, and hopefully you can learn from it. The sport learns from it. The racing teams learn from it. We won't see that much of this types of things happen in the future,
right.
But unfortunately it does, So, but anyway, it's ever since then, it's I actually forgot about that time and that company and what was going on until you just mentioned it.
Well, and just to mention, just to kind of wrap it all together, what came out of, and this is all according to the Sacramento Bee and their reporting from earlier in the week, that Jeff has to report for prison in January. He has a 30-year sentence, and he is ordered to pay back more than $790 million. That's nearly $1 billion in restitution, Tyler.
Wow. And what it reminds me of, David, something that's not too far from you down the road. Remember several years ago, the scandal that happened with Enron, and Enron was the title sponsor of the Astros brand new stadium. And people are still, it's been almost 20 years now, people are still talking about Enron. And, sponsors don't have as big of an effect on stick and ball sports as they do on NASCAR. But that was a stain on the Astros for a long time. This is what it kind of reminds me of, David.
Man, the Enron deal, being from Houston, Texas, I mean, my dad, we had a Starr Automotive and Transmission Service. Some of our customers work for Enron, and were going to retire and had their retirements. They were never going to have to work again. And man, all that got wiped out, and I remember reading about it, seeing it on the news, and obviously us having customers that work for Enron. Man, it was just a sad time that a company would do that to people. You got people that are retiring in their late 60s or middle 60s, thinking that they're going to be able to retire forever and kind of travel the world and, enjoy retirement. And then next thing you knew, that wasn't the case. They needed to go find another job to be able to pay their bills, and I don't know. I mean, you hear about this kind of stuff. And golly, man, nobody deserves to be a part of something that they don't have any control of. All those great employees and families that counted on, making a living there, and it's just the whole thing's sad. It just saddens me to kind of rehash some of the stuff we're talking about. And it was such a great, cool weekend of racing, and and then we're sitting here talking about something that's real. It's real. It happens. It's life. You know what I mean? But it's just sad that a company would take advantage of people and change people's lives for the worse. You know what I mean? It's just hard to comprehend it.
I wasn't expecting to talk stocks and Enron today, but we've had a full show today here on Let's Go Racing. We'll get to our Ask David segment in one moment. Before we do, stop by Whataburger for a hot, hearty breakfast. Any morning or late at night, they're serving up breakfast from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. Proud to serve it hot and fresh 24 hours a day. Whataburger. Let's go ahead and get to our Ask David segment. You can submit questions to us on Facebook at David Starr Podcasts, email davidstarrpodcast@gmail.com, or on Twitter at Starr Podcast. Our first question comes from Steve. Steve wants to know, David, with your boys starting to get into dirt racing, when are we going to see David back behind a dirt car returning to his roots?
I mean, we're talking about Kyle. I'm a racer. I mean, I'm jumping anything and race it, Unfortunately, the NASCAR schedule and our sponsor commitments and trying to have enough sponsorship money to move forward and try to enhance your team. It takes quite a lot of my time, and with our racing and everything going with our Team Texas High Performance Driving School, it doesn't leave a whole lot of time. I've really been, as a dad, trying to get Vancy as much seat time. He's got a little sprint car, dirt car now, for a 8-year-old kid, and he's dying to race, and I've been so busy, but man, I can assure you, if somebody called me up right now and said, hey, come to the local dirt track here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I'd be there in an hour. I can assure you of that, but man, that heart, that passion, that burning desire to race, it still burns hot in me. We're going to continue to race in NASCAR, and man, if I can jump in a dirt late model and go run some races somewhere around the country, man, you can assure you that I'm going to jump, go take the opportunity, But it makes it even harder when your sons start racing, you know what I mean? And you got to put some of that stuff off to the side and start supporting your kids. You know what I mean? That's why we do what we do and we work. And, you guys understand it. What we do, it's, people say, oh, it's awesome. You're on television every week, but they have no idea of the challenges and how tough it is to compete at this level, to work at this level in this sport. It's not easy, but man, I love it. I'm going to continue to race, but I'm definitely going to spend a lot more time with my youngest boy, Vance Starr, getting him going because, man, he's so passionate about it, loves it. You know what I mean? So, and hey, man, you guys, y'all know y'all don't have no kids, but when you do and they come to you and say, man, Daddy, I want to be a journalist, or, I want to do what you guys do. I mean, you're so proud of that, I'm so proud that my boys want to race. They want to race big time, and man, I'm going to support them and be behind them 110%.
Absolutely, David. And just to follow up on all that too, I remember on this show back in May when we had our Champions Month, David Rudiman had given you that open invitation to go race one of his cars. Any follow up on that?
Well, man, I hadn't followed up on it, but I got Rudiman's number. Man, Rudiman's a good friend of mine, and we found ourselves down in Florida for Speed Weeks. I get there a little early, and I got that itch. I need to call Rudiman up and say, hey, you got a car I can jump in. But man, we're racers, man. We want to race all the time. We don't care what it is, and I'm so passionate about it. Still am as much as ever. And but man, I would love to jump in a dirt late model or dirt modified again and go run a race somewhere, And I got people telling me, hey man, you want to come run our car somewhere, And I'm like, man, I'd love to, And they said, man, well, because we got two cars, we want to whip your ass on the dirt track, They take pride in whipping up on us NASCAR drivers when we step into what these guys do week in and week out, But man, I'm a racer at heart, and I'm going to take advantage of every opportunity that comes my way in the future. That's for sure.
Oh, the racing never stops. I'll be in the car with David. We're driving on the highway, and he's got some momentum going, and he'll say over to me or Dominic, be like, man, I'm hauling ass. I mean, it just never stops with David. So, yeah, I would love to see you on a dirt or something hauling ass, having a –
Man, I remember, when my first son was born, and my team, they called and sent flowers to my wife. They were concerned. They say, hey man, most drivers, they start having kids, start slowing down some, and I assured them that it's going to speed me up. You know what I mean? And they didn't really know that. And then after about 5 or 6 months, a year later, they said, yeah, you were right, man. It didn't slow you down any. I just, man, you guys are passionate. I'm passionate. We love what we do. We're going to keep doing it as well.
We're going to keep hauling ass. Damn straight.
Absolutely, buddy. Absolutely.
Another question. This one's from Francis. David, what's the best advice you can give somebody struggling to find sponsors on a regional or a national level?
God, it's I can assure you, next podcast, I'm going to talk a lot about our sponsors, because man, I pinch myself every day to have a company like Whataburger, a place I grew up as a kid eating, and a company so big, and to be able to represent them on and off the racetrack, and all the other sponsors we have, man. I am so blessed, so blessed. But it's not an easy process, and I really think companies, sponsors, they want to get involved with people that are driven people that have goals and dreams and desires and passionate. If you got passion, you have dreams, you have goals, that energy you have, they'll feel it. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of companies out there, man. If you're a true hardcore racer, you need sponsors and you love what you do, you're passionate in what you do, man. I hope every racer in the United States that needs a sponsor will get a sponsor, but I think these companies, everybody's important, and all the racers I grew up racing with, and all the racers you guys know, and all the racers that I know, including myself, we all got to have sponsors, man. And thank God there's companies out there willing to put their names on our race cars so we can do what we love to do. But I think the biggest advice, just be very passionate, be yourself. Companies like people with good morals. They like people that are passionate and hardworking, and and I think if you just be true to yourself, eventually you're going to get you a good sponsor.
Yeah, I mean, Dominic, you and I, we don't work a whole lot with sponsors directly, but I can tell you just from communicating with people, walking through everyday life, and I'm sure you can attest to this too. People are attracted to motivated people. And, one of the things I look at with my career, where I'm at right now and where I'm going, is that I've had so many people help me along the way that I didn't even ask for, that wanted to say, what can I do to help you? Or, hey, I know this person or can do this for you. And see, driven, motivated people want to be a part of that. And I think that it's not being fake. It's showing that you really care. People tend to feed off that energy, and they want to be involved. That's not just a sponsor lesson. That's just a life lesson, Dominic.
I agree with that, Tyler. I mean, I've told you and I've told David, and I'm sharing this for the first time with a lot of people, but I think, look, don't they say it's better to have 4 quarters and 100 pennies, right? I mean, and that's kind of what my friend circles are, the people I associate with. And I feel really honored and proud to the people that I know and the people that I've gotten the chance to know over the years, right? Family and friends and the whole 9 yards. I'm surrounded by very driven people that know what they want. They know what they're chasing after. And that energy just feeds off. And I'm more motivated to do that and to just aspire to do better. I think every night before I go to bed, what did I do today to be productive? What did I do to try and work towards my goals? And I feel like being around like-minded people like that, my family, my friends, only just fuels that even more. And I've always heard too, when you have a goal, you tell people your goal, so that way you have more people holding you accountable. And that's something I've really tried to live by in the last calendar year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like for me personally, and David, I bet you'll appreciate this. I feel like every single day I owe it to the people that have invested in me to give 100% my best effort in everything I do because of what they've done for me. I owe it to them to go as far as I can and reach all my goals because of what they did to help me out. I owe it to them to make them proud and give it my all in everything I do.
Well, just knowing you guys have done a great job, man. And that's why you're where you're at. I tell people all the time, if you're passionate and you have dreams and you're a driven person, people want to line up behind that energy. They love that. People love helping people, I think about some friends of mine that were race car drivers and wanted to be big time race car drivers, and they didn't really have good positive energy. And when I say that, it was all about them, and they were going to do this, they were going to do that, and and sometimes their morals, they wasn't the best. It's just people want to help good-hearted, driven people that are passionate, and like you said, Tyler, you hit it right on the nail's head. That's just in life in general, you know what I mean? And I think our racing family and what we do, if you turn it into life, it's just life, man. We have great attitudes. We try our best. Are we successful all the time? We're not. But, we kick down, but, we pull our jeans back up and we go back after it. You know what I mean? We learn from our mistakes. And we're just real people that are passionate, and people love that. You know what I mean? But I think attitude, passion, and desire, we got a lot of desire, us guys, and people want to line up behind that. You know what I mean? So, when I hear racers trying to get sponsors locally, nationally, I say, hey, man, just be yourself. Show that passion. Show that desire. Let people know what you want to do. And, man, you'll be surprised how many people want to line up behind you and help you be successful, whether that's in racing or in life or whatever. It's there, man. Take advantage of it.
Man, yeah, and that's a great way to wrap up today's show. We've had a great discussion today on all fronts on when it comes to life and racing and all that. This has been, I think, one of our more entertaining and passionate shows we've had here on Let's Go Racing. Been a pleasure to be with you guys today, as always. Make sure to subscribe to Let's Go Racing with David Starr. New episodes out each and every Wednesday at Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube as well. Hit that like button. We'll be doing shows throughout the off season. We're not going anywhere. Still plenty to talk about, as we're only 85 days away from the Clash. So we'll count down the days and get ready for that coming up here pretty soon. Before we go, David, let's start with you. What's going on? Your first official week of the off season, but it's certainly not slowing down. What do you got going on this week?
And I was at the Texas Motor Speedway all day, moving our racing school race cars back to our Team Texas race shop. And, man, it's been 100 miles an hour ever since we touched down here at DFW Airport. But man, I want to congratulate you guys. Man, it's NASCAR 2021 NASCAR racing season. I mean, what a big success. Our podcast, just our racing, everything we did and everybody did. Damn, I'm honored and proud to work in such an awesome sport and to work with two awesome guys. Like you said, Tyler, we're going to continue it, and we're going to bring behind the scenes to our fans, the people that follow us. And, unbelievable season, man. It's cool. I look forward to 2022, and I look forward to celebrating the holidays with my families. But I hope everybody rest assured that all three of us are going to be working hard on our podcast and what we do to continue to go forward. But, man, it's been an honor to work with you guys.
Yeah, it certainly has. Dominic, what's going on with you this week, man?
Yeah, so I echo those comments, man. A lot of fun working with you guys. A whole year doing this under our belts. So much fun. Looking forward to spending the weekend with my girlfriend and spending time with the family as well. My mom and dad are celebrating their 28th wedding anniversary on November 13th. So shout out mom and dad.
Oh, that's awesome.
Awesome, man.
So, yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend. I'm really looking forward to that. Get to hang out with my brother. So a lot of cool family stuff and things. Like, right, we have professional fun. We have personal fun. I'm looking forward to a lot of personal fun this weekend.
Hey, that milestone, you don't just call mom and dad. We got to shout out, Yvonne and Marty Oregon, for that accomplishment. They
absolutely
28 years. That's a lot, and especially having to put up with you. That's
oh, I know. No, they always joke that you're lucky you had a brother, Dominic, because you were really hard.
Well, hey, Tyler, how about yourself, man? What's going on this week for you, buddy?
Man, I got so much going on. New Jones report coming out on Thursday, and just working hard, throughout the week with my TV program with Local News Live here. We're certainly doing a lot going on, and this month for me is certainly a passionate month for me, is it's Native American Heritage Month. So I'm doing some interviews with people that are making an impact in their Native communities. Just did one for TV with Dr. Nikki Bean from the University of Oklahoma. She works with the overseas diversity and inclusion and equity in the Oklahoma Athletic Department. She's only one of two assistant ADs in America that are Native American. So, as someone that's Native American like myself, who's Choctaw, I love to tell these stories. And so I'm going to be working on that as kind of a passion project through my job over this next month. So there's a little inside baseball there.
Unbelievable, man. You guys are busy, dude. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. We got to go. We got to put the checkered flag out on this episode. We'll see you next week. Got some great guests lined up for the next couple of weeks as well. We'll announce those when we're ready to do so. Follow us on Facebook at David Starr Podcast, Twitter at Starr Podcast, email davidstarrpodcast@gmail.com. For David Starr, Dominic Aragon, I'm Tyler Jones. Saying so long. This has been another edition of Let's Go Racing. We'll see you next week. All right.